Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Ryan, aka Arpit. Thank you so much for clicking on to this video, and this is going to be a new series on my channel where essentially I'm going to be talking about the games, announcements, and release date updates that have occurred during the week. With everything going on in the world today and the lack of game announcements that we see specifically from Nintendo, we don't really see a ton of new Nintendo Switch titles. You know, for this year, next year, we know certain things that should be coming, but there's not a lot of information that we receive as of late. So that doesn't mean there isn't a lot of awesome things to talk about. And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some of the best games that I personally think have been announced, or like I said, release dates for games that have been previously announced that you should keep your eye out on either for the remainder of this year or running into next year as well. So without further ado, let's get into the games announced for this week. So in this video, because it's the first one, I'm actually going to be talking about games, not just this previous week, but about, the last week and a half or so. So we're going to start off with 3 games that are coming out this week. So the first game is Volta-X. It releases on August 12th for $19.99. The reason I think this game looks like it has potential at the very least is it's sort of a mech battler where instead of you kind of controlling the mech itself, you are controlling the characters that are in the mech. And I think it just looks interesting with the leveling system. There's a lot of different characters to choose from, which determines the different variables with what your mech has equipped as far as weapons, things like that. So it just looks very different. I think the art style looks different. And I don't think the price point is too unreasonable for what I'm seeing. So yeah, this is a game that comes out in a few days, August 12th. And the next game that also comes out on August 12th is Metamorphosis. Now this game comes in at $24.99, and it is a first-person adventure that puts you into the shoes of a salesman turned bug. So yes, you are a bug, which basically means that obstacles that wouldn't be obstacles in the first place if you were a human have now become obstacles. And essentially, you've been framed for some crime. And I don't know, it just looks really different and interesting. And me personally, I'm a big fan of first-person adventure games. So if this game runs well, I do think it has a lot of potential. So yeah, this game comes out on August 12th for $24.99. The next game that also releases this week, the last one I'll be talking about that releases this upcoming week, is Double Kick Heroes. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about this game specifically is, so first of all, it was actually announced back in January of 2019, and we just received a release date update. Now, the reason this game looks interesting, in my opinion, is because what they've done for the Switch version is added Joy-Con motion controls. So it is a rhythm style game, and so essentially the Joy-Con motion controls come into play because they're essentially like the drum beats, right? So I just think that's a really interesting and cool way to use the Joy-Con motion controls. And for that reason alone, I think it's a game that's definitely worth checking out. Now, this next game was just talked about in the most recent PlayStation event. But it's called Aeon Must Die, and there is some controversy surrounding this game as far as what was included in that presentation, things like that. We're not really going to get into that. One thing that the developers did confirm is that this game is going to come not only to PlayStation, but also to all other platforms, including the Switch. So this is going to release in 2021. However, it looks really, really cool. Obviously, what we saw and what I'm playing for you right now does come assumingly from a PlayStation version. However, it's a game that, as long as they can make it look somewhat decent on the Switch, I think it's really different. It looks like it's a beat-em-up style game, but not in a traditional sense. So it just looks different. It looks very interesting. It looks really well done. The music sounds really good. So this is one that I definitely am going to kind of keep track of. And hopefully it is not late in 2021. Hopefully it comes sometime early on. The next game that comes out later this month on August 20th is Gleamlight. Now, some people are arguing that this game looks a little too much like Hollow Knight. And as long as there's nothing fishy going on behind the scenes as far as the creation of this game, then I don't think there's really any problem with that, because that Hollow Knight is definitely one of the most revered games that's come out on the eShop. So if Gleamlight can come anywhere close to the standards of that game, then this is definitely something that would be worth it. So this is definitely one to keep an eye out on. It comes out on August 20th. Next game we're going to talk about is a game called Braid. Now this is a remaster of a 2008 game, and this is one of the first kind of indie titles that got some notoriety. Like I said, came back in 2008, and this is going to be releasing in Q1 of 2021, so within the first few months there. Now this is a game I wanted to talk about just because they showed a big deal about what differences they have made as far as the original game and the remaster game. Now they've definitely touched it up as far as graphics. I really love the art style of this game. I think it's just different. It's definitely feels like a throwback to that time of indie games, and this is one I think it's just one to keep an eye out on. Now I wanted to talk about two games coming out in September. So the first is called Adventures of Pip, which releases on September 10th. Now this is a port of a Wii U game, and it comes in at $9.99. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this game, is because I feel like a lot of eShop games that are out are either $20 or more, at least if you're trying to find a good game. Now this one looks really interesting because you switch between different forms. You have a 16-bit form, 8-bit form, and a single pixel. And so what I'm assuming, I personally haven't played this game, many of you may have, but it looks like you can, make it through specific areas, defeat different enemies perhaps, based on your specific form. So I think it has, a lot of potential there. The other game releasing in September is called Mini Motor Racing X, and it releases on September 17th. So this is like a tiny racer game, but the reason I wanted to talk about this one and why I thought it looked interesting is because most tiny racers are just kind of like that top-down viewpoint, which this game does have, but they also have the option to be in first person. And I think that's really cool for this kind of racing game. So definitely something I think has a lot of potential. It has released on Steam, and it did receive some pretty good reviews there. So this is definitely one to keep an eye out for, and one that does release next month on the 17th. Now releasing in October is a beat 'em up style game called 9 Monkeys of Shaolin. And this game, I've never been a huge beat 'em up games, but this is a game that did definitely pique my interest. The art style looks really well done. The combat looks good. So this is one, personally, I don't think I would normally be interested in, at least as far as beat 'em up games go. But because of how well it looks, I do think this is one that has a lot of potential, and one that we just got a release date for. So yeah, this releases on October 16th. Now this next game is more of just news, I suppose, because we've definitely heard about it, and we don't really have a super concrete release date for it, but it's Temtem, which is kind of been known as the Pokemon clone. Now this game was supposed to come out on the Switch, PS4, and Xbox One, but it was just confirmed by the developers that they canceled the Xbox One and PS4 versions, but it will be coming to the Switch, PS5, and Xbox Series X. Now, I'm more just curious to know how they're going to do this as far as putting the game on the next generation console along with the Switch version, just because of the difference in hardware. So that's definitely something to watch out for. They did say it will be sometime in 2021 that they will be releasing this game, so I'll definitely keep track of this one. This is more just interesting, kind of something to keep an eye on. Now this last game is one that I'm sure you've all heard about from this week, but it is Pikmin 3 Deluxe. Now I personally have not played a Pikmin game in a very, very long time. The last Pikmin game I played was definitely on the GameCube. I didn't even own it. I played at my friend's house. So, but I know a ton of people love the Pikmin franchise. This is definitely something I'm going to be checking out. One thing I do like, they said it was a deluxe version, and they did actually add in new story missions, or side story missions, and all the DLC stages from the original game. So they did at least make it more deluxe than, say the Super Mario Bros. Deluxe game, where they really just ported that over. So that's definitely one I am interested in checking out for sure, even though I have not played a Pikmin game in a very, very long time. That's going to do it, you guys. Definitely let me know down below in the comment section which of these games you think are worth checking out, or if there's games on here you don't think are worth checking out. Definitely let me know. your thoughts down below in the comment section. Definitely like the video if you like this type of video. I'm going to try and keep doing this every single week, most likely on Saturdays. This one's coming up a little bit late. But yeah, definitely subscribe to the channel if you guys want to stay updated on these different game announcements. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.